All right, this is the start of the last video in this series. We're going to look at media servers, two programs specifically, Plex and Kodi. You can actually install both of them simultaneously, which we'll get into a little bit. We're not going to go too deep into the install or setting them up. This is more of a comparison there's reasons for using either program. They're both good programs, but they work in a sort of different fashion. So instead of actually saying, like a lot of versus posts I've seen, this is good feature, this is bad feature, this is how they work, and from that you should be able to determine whether you want to use Kodi, Plex, or both. Okay, let's get to it. All right, we're looking at Plex and Kodi pedigrees first. You probably never heard of Xbox Media Center or XBMC, but it was released in 2002, and Kodi and Plex both derive from it. Plex is a commercial application and client server model. Full usage requires a paid account, support and help from the company. Kodi is open source. It's a standalone client. A server other than Kodi, no paid account, and support help from other users. Plex network functionality. Our Plex Media Server is an application we install, which is separate from the Plex application that goes on other devices. It can be accessed via the web. So you can have web, if you have GUI on your media server, you can open a local host. If not, you can use a other computer in your network. Plex apps will also go via Wi-Fi in your local network. The nice thing about Plex is if your device is outside of your local network, the Plex domain will forward that back to your through your ISP to your home router to your Plex media server. There might be a few things you have to set up there to accomplish this, but Plex does most of the heavy lifting for you out in the internet. Kodi network functionality. Now Kodi, again, standalone application or client application, depending on how you're using it. Kodi app goes on a device on your network. If you want to have the media stored other places and on your Kodi app, you can hook it up by a wide variety of protocols. You can have a file server that stores your media. You can have multiple Kodi apps. It's available in Windows, Linux. I'm not sure about Mac, but it's also available on Android. And to get remote Kodi access, you need to do something with your DNS server, probably like dynamic DNS or Cloudflare tunneling or something along those lines. And if you want to sync up all your apps, you can run a database on your server and attach all the Kodi apps to the database. Installing Plex on Debian 12. First thing you need to do is add the Plex repositories to your source. The line below shows you how to do that. Once that's done, you can download the Plex key and add it to your APT keys with the command below. Then you need to update your APT repositories with an APT update, and at this point you can basically do an APT install Plex Media Server. Note, Plex Media Server is not the Plex application. You can access your Plex Media Server and confirm it is running via web browser, either from localhost if you have a GUI installed on the server, or from another computer by typing in the server's local IP address, then port 32400/web. Once you connect to the Plex server, you're going to need to log in. You can open a free account that has some restrictions for mobile access, but all configuration will be done through the web browser. Media folders generally reside on the same computer as the Plex media server. They can reside on another server. However, you need to have those files mounted to the Plex server so the Plex can actually see them. It basically SMB protocol or installing Kodi on Debian 12. Kodi is actually already available in the standard Debian repositories. You just need to do an apt update and then an apt install Kodi. Kodi installs on client devices and not servers. If you're doing a standalone and you have your media files with Kodi, it's really easy to set up. If you have them on a server someplace, file server someplace, then Kodi has a wide variety of protocols you can use to actually access them that are beyond just mounting them. SMB, FTP, WebDAV, NFS, etc. You can synchronize multiple Kodi clients by creating a remote database. This is one of the advanced features of Kodi, and then each application will look at the database there instead of its own local database, so you can synchronize all your clients that way. The setup is, if you get beyond a single computer with the video or media files there, with Kodi, it gets rather complex after that. Again, if you're setting up with a separate file system, you need to give access. If you're setting up to synchronize your clients, you need to set up a remote database. Complexity increases as things you do remotely increase. So let's look at Plex analysis, the advantages and disadvantages of using Plex. This is what you really need to know here. Plex is simple to set up once you get beyond actually updating your sources lists. Easy server client remote connectivity. It's pretty much built in through the Plex domain out on the internet. It has a standardized interface and appearance. There's not much you can actually change on it, so it always looks the same and behaves the same. Okay, apps available on most devices, including smart TVs. This is a little different than Kodi. Company has its own streaming service, so you can stream from the Plex domain. Integrates with other streaming services as well, like Netflix or Amazon Prime or Peacock or whatever. And you actually have a company, so you have the company's help available. This is something a lot of people like to have. Now, for disadvantages, requires a Plex Pass account to do anything really more complex than just run it on your local network and use a web browser. It's a limited, really limited remote connectivity without the Plex paid account. The add-on apps are being discontinued, or at least that's what my research shows. They had some nice ones, but apparently they're doing away with their add-on apps. There's limited customization. Again, some people like having a fixed interface, other people like being able to change things. So how the interface can be changed is both an advantage and a disadvantage. Depends on your use. Only one scrapping engine is available. You got to use the Plex scrapper. It relies on other scrapping engines, but you do go through the Plex scrapper. Scrapping is finding information online about your media files. Has limited support for embedded metadata, and you get a warning when you do this telling you you're overriding their scrapper. And there are some situations and some multimedias that just are not handled well. An example that immediately leaps to mind is the multi-disc sets. Plex does not handle these well without a lot of tinkering. Now let's switch over and look at Kodi. A standalone install on Kodi is dead simple, easy to do, assuming everything's on one computer. Almost all aspects of the interface, look and feel can be customized. Pretty much everything in Kodi can be customized to change its appearance. There are lots of themes out there. You can also have multiple scrapping engines available in Kodi. So if one doesn't work, you can try another. There's also a huge library of add-ons, plugins for increased functionality that do all sorts of interesting things. If you do install Kodi, I highly recommend browsing what's available. In many cases of metadata scrapping, the metadata scrapping can be simplified by NFO files. These are local text files you create that basically hold a lot of the similar information that metadata would hold. Or you can have Kodi create them. Availability of advanced settings supports a wide range of protocols for connecting Kodi to remote file servers and to a remote database if you want to sync up your clients. Some disadvantages. Network and remote setup can be challenging, difficult. It does require a little bit of knowledge to get Kodi working across a network. Some of the add-ons plugins are of questionable legality. This is mainly true of the streaming plugins. Some of them have questionable sources that they pull files from, so you want to be careful with that. Advanced settings can be complex to set up and use. This is what you would use to set up a remote database and some other things. Any support's going to come from other users. There is no company, no official general support channel. I mean, there are blogs, there are forums, there are other resources, but they're all basically user driven. Some people are uncomfortable with this type of help. So bottom line, which one should you use? Well, it depends on your situation, your level of technical knowledge, and a few other things. And I'm going to say right now, nothing's stopping you from running both Kodi and Plex at the same time. I'm doing it right now, and it works out fine. As a standalone application, Kodi is super easy to set up. And if that's all you want, one computer with a media center on it, Kodi is probably the way you want to go. As a local remote network application, Plex is the easier one to set up and use. So if you want multiple applications, multiple clients to connect to your media server and you want to do it remotely, Plex is much easier to do this setup with than Kodi is. Plex can be set up on most devices. For many devices, aka things like smart TVs, there is no Kodi app. The Kodi Android app can be set up on some things like Amazon Fire Stick, but not a lot of Kodi apps outside of the mainstream. If you're a person who wants total control over the look and feel, then Kodi would be the preferred app because you can load lots of different themes and you can basically change the appearance of almost everything. If you want more control over scrapping of media, then Kodi would probably be your preferred application as it can load multiple different scrappers and let you choose between them. Again, scrapping is finding data out on the web about your media files. If reliable single point help is important, then Plex would be your choice as it's a company based and the company has its own help pages. They're not users help with them, but the company supports it. And if that's the kind of help you need, then Plex is probably the application for you. And that's about it.
Okay, well that's our video, our last one in this series. I'm hoping you got a good understanding of how both Plex and Kodi work. I mean, they do basically the same thing, but they function differently. So this should give you a good idea which one to choose. Anyway, the server's done, it's up and running. Other than remote connectivity, which Plex provides, but there's other ways to do that too, which I may cover in the future, but for right now, I'm closing this video series down so I can start working on other stuff. So if you enjoyed it, let me know.